Can we stop the cap? Can we stop pretending that Pixar is for children? Pixar movies are not for kids. They are animations sold to kids, but they're for adults. I've never seen a studio do such a good job communicating a message that is so important for adults to grasp, but so colorful for kids to enjoy. And that's essentially what Inside Out 2 is. Again. And this is a movie I was only mediumly looking forward to. That is until I watched Inside Out for the first time, technically about Wednesday night, right? Wednesday night, I watched it with some friends after only seeing it back in 2015, which unfortunately, admittedly, you guys have heard this from me a lot this year. I fell asleep in that movie and I was in the theater. I went to go see Inside Out. I woke up, everybody was crying, and Bing Bong was fading away. I had no idea who Bing Bong was. And I was like, yo, why is everybody crying over this guy? And I should have probably just watched it again between 2015 and now. It's crazy that it's been almost 10 years since the first one. So yeah, I watched the first Inside Out movie Wednesday night, and then I went straight into Inside Out 2 last night. And I have to tell you, this movie is so much better than Inside Out 1. And even when I say better, I don't even necessarily mean that it's better because there's flaws with Inside Out. I just believe it's better because it continues to build on what Inside Out actually made for us. And it's crazy how invested I am in this young character of Riley and her life. I'm literally looking at her throughout this entire movie, and I'm concerned for her social involvement and for her safety, for who she is as a human being. I'm like, Riley, no, girl, look, I understand, I get it. And then I'm watching the new emotions of anxiety and boredom and embarrassment and envy come in and try to establish themselves in Riley's mind. And Joy once again struggle with the idea of different emotions taking the helm and needing that balance. It's absolutely insane how invested I am in this character, in this person, and in this animated human being. It's wild. But what we have here in Inside Out 2 is Riley has just turned 13. She's hit puberty. She's going away to a hockey camp with her friends. And because of different situations where her friends may be taking a different path than her, she has to now decide whether or not she wants to spend this weekend with her friends or spend this weekend with students at a high school that she's potentially going to be joining. That's where we get this picture of anxiety, envy, and all these things that are happening the day after she hits puberty. One of the things that I love that this movie did was it introduced some new concepts for Riley. And through those concepts, it talked to us as the audience about ourselves. You know what I'm saying? Pixar's not for children. It's for adults, and it's sold to children, right? You may think the Minions, Despicable Me is for children. And there's nothing wrong if you like Despicable Me, although I hate it with a passion of 1,000 burning suns because of the Minions, although, you know, Gru's fun. Pixar is sold to children and they eat it up, but we're the ones who leave crying. I'm sure the kids cried when Bing Bong disappeared, but we, the adults, are the ones crying because we understand what's going on for real, for real. One of the new concepts that I absolutely love was the idea of the sense of self. All the ideas through the interactions that Riley has had over her first 13 years that are building the idea of who she is and what her beliefs are and how those translate to what she thinks about herself. Me and my friend, we were sitting next to each other and we were cringing, not in a bad way, but we were cringing in this way of, girl, you just don't know what you don't know. So Riley has this thing where she believes herself to be a good person. That's her only belief. It's her central belief. It's what Joy is trying to orchestrate for Riley. One of the things that as adults we know, we are good people sometimes. We are bad people sometimes. We have thoughts, we have doubts, we have arrogance, we are all of these different things. I just have to apologize to a friend the other day for something I said out of turn. We are all of these things, right? And you can be a good person for sure, and that can be a part of it. But one of the things that the movie really does a good job of communicating is that if you only think of yourself one way, it tips the scales to you becoming the type of person who tries to keep up that facade almost. And sometimes you don't even know that you're doing it. So what they did really well is they introduced the idea of anxiety, or the character, I should say, of anxiety, of envy, embarrassment, and of boredom. Now, I will say one of the things, or two of the things, that really didn't work for me as well as everything else were the characters of boredom and envy. Envy, who's voiced by Ayo Edebiri, who does a phenomenal job with the little bit of work that she does have to do. I think that Envy had a couple of cool lines and a couple of things where you really understood like why she was there as a character. For the most part, she was pushed to the side. As was Boredom. He didn't seem to, like, he did one or two things because, you know, you have to do something with a new character. But a lot of the time I felt like a lot of their actions could have been covered by embarrassment and anxiety. Anxiety I thought was really interesting because they do something really clever in which they don't only talk about anxiety in the negative. They talk about anxiety in a neutral way, but show how anxiety, if there's too much anxiety, it can lead to some really bad thought processes about yourself. But also not having anxiety and only going over to full joy, where you're ignoring the things that you are concerned about in service of you just being happy, is also not good. There are things in life that, yeah, you can choose to ignore them by just, I got a bunch of comic books over here. I say, hey man, like, if I don't pay these bills, the lights are going to get shut off, right? For example, like, I don't even want to think about that. I don't have the money for this, or don't have the money for that. I just want to be in my happy place, enjoy. I just want to think about all positive things, right? And how that can actually lead you to just as much danger and just as much social danger as anything else. The anxiety here is presented as, hey, what if these things do go wrong? What should we do to prepare for these things? What should we look for in these things? And that is a measured level in anxiety. If I'm on the highway, right, and I'm not thinking about all the people that are around me and keeping a vigilant eye on that and thinking about what could go wrong if this happens, then I might think I'm the only person who's on the road. And some people drive like they're the only person on the road. So that is one way that anxiety is shown in a positive light, but it's balance. It always comes back to balance. Just like in the first Inside Out movie, Joy was trying to basically push sadness out. We don't want Riley to experience any sadness. We don't want her to experience anything other than joy. Riley experiencing sadness helped her to process who she is. Riley experiencing anxiety helps her to process who she is. And one of the things that they do so freaking well in this movie is a panic attack and what that looks like, how it's visualized in the brain, right? Not like scientifically, but this is obviously an animated representation of what it could look like. But when I was watching the scene, I'm like, that's exactly what it feels like. And a panic attack is nothing but a million thoughts at a time rushing at you. And sometimes those thoughts have nothing to do with the situation that's going on. But because you're having a panic attack, it doesn't matter. It's just you can't stop and calm your brain in order to process what's happening to you. And as a person who has ADHD and who experiences depression and has high anxiety and consistently thinking about the way things are going wrong, I was tearing up watching Riley experiencing that because I wanted her to be well. Do you hear what I'm saying? This little 13-year-old animated child, I was invested in her life and who she was. Pixar is able to create these characters that you root for, that you have an invested interest in. And it's amazing how they're able to do that. The writing in this movie is so incredibly strong. And yeah, I cannot say enough for how much this movie meant to me as a person who struggles with these kinds of things. And yeah, so I'm actually working on a new rating system. I have not perfected it yet. I want to get away from the sparks and how many sparks kind of thing, because 3.5 sparks out of 5 is kind of arbitrary. What does that really mean? What does it mean for you? What can you do with that information? So I'm working on this. Let me know what you guys think about it. But so far I have these 3 levels, right? Must see. You gotta go see it. You gotta go to the theater. You gotta get out and see it and support it. And you just do not wait for this to go to streaming. Go to your theater and go check it out right now, as soon as fiscally and humanly possible, right? And then at the second level, it was a good time at the theater. I had a good time. You don't need to go to the first showing or the second showing. You probably wait another week. You could even wait for streaming, but it was a good time at the theater would be the name of the second one. And the third one, because I don't want to be too mean, even though some things are absolutely terrible and you can skip it, it's going to be somebody's favorite movie. Not mine, but somebody's. Because every movie, even the movie that you think is the worst movie in the world, is somebody's favorite movie. Somebody's a hot take. I love Madam Web. That's not me. I'm not that person, right? But there is someone out there who loves Madam Web, right? Because of that, it's somebody's favorite movie. So that's my way of saying this movie sucks. It's awful. It's somebody's favorite movie. It's definitely not gonna be mine, but it's gonna be somebody's personal cult classic, right? Inside Out 2. This is a must-see. Take your behind to the theater, grow an adult, let your children laugh at the colors while you are bombarded with real-life ideas of your sense of self, of what anxiety looks like, of your train of thought, of your hidden secrets, and all of that. This movie is amazing and deserves to be seen in the theater. Let me know what you think about this movie in the comments, and I'll talk to you guys next time.